Right, I'm just going to make a video. Where this is going, I haven't got a fucking clue right now. But I just want to talk about a few things. Let's go have a little beer, enjoying a day off today, where I'm not going walking around, exercising or doing whatever it is that I need to do. So I'm having a little joint, a little sit down here. I quite like sitting here at the minute. There's a lot going on, looking round, trying to learn about what's going on. I've lived outside in spring before. I did learn a lot. There's a reason I said that I weren't going to take the fleece down until mid to late spring, because spring is a time of year that's warm and cold, freezing cold, and can be quite warm as well. But yeah, I want to give people a little insight onto my take on the world, take on reality, take on life, take on religion, take on the books, take on a lot of things. Now, I've already written it, but I'll talk about it again. I was born, my nan was very religious. I was christened, I went to church. I was schooled on the religion, Christian religion. I went to Sunday school. I went to church with the boys' brigade. So I went to church till I was, I don't know how old I was. I was around the church till about 9, 10, I think. I think that was when I stopped going to boys' brigade. I can't remember the exact fucking year. But yeah, I'd have to go to church. I went to church. I know a lot about the books. I've read the bulk of it. Now, and I've always been fascinated by religion my whole life, because the majority of the world is religious. But all I see is mental illness. I've always seen. Even as a young child, you're being told you go to this world, you've got to praise God, and you'll go to heaven. When my nan died, my mum used to say to me, "Your nan's watching you. She's watching you." And I remember I was petrified by it, because she'd use my nan against me, because my nan was the disciplinarian, and she knew that I was scared of my nan, or did what my nan was what I was told, to a degree. Now, I've also read and studied. I studied the ancient structures around the world, and a lot of the stories and religions around the world, from Norse, Celtic, the religion of Abraham, Buddhism. I've read the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, I think that's called, or the Book of Life. The translations are all wrong, but whatever. I've read what I'll call the puzzles of the asylum. Now, when I speak to religious wackos in the street, and they are religious wackos, most don't know what's written in the books, especially Christians. And I've come across this on a number of occasions, more than one. I tried to talk to many religious people. Religious people are the hardest, most programmed nut jobs on earth. They don't listen. You can't have a proper conversation with them. They try to get away from you. They ain't listening to what you're saying. All they want to do, the second you don't want to listen to them tell you what's in the book and their take on it, they start to ignore you, start to be rude, start to try to get away from you, even though you're trying to talk about the book and try to, have a conversation with them about what's written and ask why. Why do you believe that when the books say this? Now, most religious people are, is the word nice? Is the word good? I'm not sure. Are they aggressive? No. Are they violent? Not a lot. Some are. Some are extremists. Some are extremists. The Irish are quite extremists because they killed each other over interpretation of the same book. But it was to do with money, wealth, dividing of a country, loyal to whoever they claim, but whatever, yeah? But they're quite extreme in their religious beliefs. And some are quite, you can't really have a discussion with them about it either because they just go into the book. And all of them just say the book says, and they read it word for word without any question of the words. That's it. It's the word of God. Christians are very rude about it. I've had many close to fucking, confrontations with some. I've had to threaten some, because they start do and being aggressive to what I say, carry on, Now, I am schooled on what's written in a lot of those books. Now, most of the religious books and religions and the Vedic texts, I've read bits of, it's very hard to read every single bit of it because it goes into waffle and gunk. A lot of it repeats itself. It's written in a language that not a lot of people can comprehend very well, and is all open to interpretation of what you're reading. Now, I just want to go over the Old Testament because the Old Testament is horrendous. And if you read what's written, because the Old Testament is the creation story that is followed by all of the religion of Abraham. They all talk about Egypt, Moses, and like I pointed out yesterday in that video, there was a divide that took place. Obviously, you've got the two sons of Abraham, Ishmael and Isaac. One went into Islam, one was Judaism, and it doesn't really make sense. There's not a timeline to it. It's just quite weird how it sort of works. But like I've pointed out, in those different sections, you also have more divides. So in Islam, you have Sunni and Shia Muslims. I think I've said that right. If I haven't, I don't care because it's not my interpretation of single words that really matter. Christianity, you have Catholic and Protestant, which is the main divide, but then you also have hundreds of different churches. You go into a lot of the villages, there's two churches in each village. So you have the main church and then you have a smaller Methodist one. So there was a split in the community where there was arguments that took place and we're going to go and worship God, our God, this way. So there's always arguments because that's why it's so open to interpretation that's what creates the divisions in the communities. Now, like I've pointed out, creation is not up for discussion because a human body is a fully functional machine. Everything in nature are machines. They're fully functional machines. Now, to make my hand move like that, my brain is sending electrical impulses down to the hydraulic systems, the tendons, the ligaments of my joints, and it works no different from a hydraulic system. My wrist is a ball joint. Shoulder's a ball joint. The hip is a ball joint. Yeah, the ankle is a ball joint. You know, that's design. It had to be designed like that for it all to work like that. Yeah, that's a fact. When you look out into nature, you see that where I am now, nothing is dominant over so, you know, everything lives. Yes, there's predators. Yes, there's vegetarians. Yes, there are many different things. Things die, but the majority live. Now, the problem with the world is that the majority of the world, I mean, I don't know the exact figure, again, numbers and exact figures are for wackos, but I'd say around 90% of the world are highly religious. The main religions is the religion of Abraham, the religion Hinduism, well, Buddhism is next. Buddhism is massive. There's billions of, well, basically, there's billions of Buddhists, billions of Christians, billions of Muslims, hardly any Jews. And then you have the Indian religions, which is, there's a number because they've been broken down to shitloads. There's different gods and they worship different versions of the same story, again dividing the population. So you have worshippers of Krishna, worshippers of Shiva, worshippers of Vishnu. You know, there's different sections, so you get different churches or temples or places of worship like that. So it basically just divides the population. Now, they're facts that can't be argued. Now, my point and the points I'm trying to make is that people need to look at what can't be argued to a degree, and how you fit into that, how your life experience and everything works into how the world works and what you've been told, educated. The religion of science fiction is the latest one, and that is that the gravity god created everything. There was an explosion and it was gravity that sucked everything together, gravity that made the balls spin, gravity that, and algae, and you know, it's just gunk as well. And when you read the Vedic texts, well, all of it is more or less based on what I would call kids' fairy tale stories for children, more or less. There's not a lot of answers to life in any of the books whatsoever, to a degree. Now, I've studied them all, and there is connections. There may be a story in all of them that's all connected, but it's still not your life. It just sort of gives you a little bit of, oh, right, maybe that might be that. Now, I don't know what creation is for. I haven't got a clue. I'm not there. The creator of all life is unknowable. Certainly on a human concept level. What people call life, now, it may just be an interpretation of what life is somewhere else. That's my take on things at the minute. So I'm going to give people my honesty and let people know, because the problem with the world's population and what the education system did and the religious schooling is that they tell everyone that they know all the answers. So what you get is people not questioning what they're being told, which is the majority of the world's population don't question. Like, religious wackos go to work, think that by having polite words, but piss poor manners sometimes makes them good. So they say, oh, God bless you, yes, my brother. They talk to you like that. But while their actions are quite rude, trying to get away from you, trying to interrupt everything you're saying. Now, I do interrupt people as well, but I do give people, I say, go on then. Explain yourself a little bit, give them a bit of time, and then try to explain my point of view, because I'm trying to ask them what makes them believe that they're going to get to heaven and heaven and God exist. They start telling you about the books, yet the books do tell you completely different things to what they're fucking going on about. It is very clear what is written in the Old Testament, that the Jew was God's chosen people. And the story is that it was the Egyptians, and that God came to Moses and then went round murdering everyone's firstborns, the babies, the crosses on, it's a kid's story really. And then he parted the sea and they went to the promised land and all this shit. You also have the story of Noah, the great flood. So it's not one storybook. It's not one story of what happens. It's weird. But anyway, you get Moses and all of that, but you got the creation bit. God dreamed it up. Just dreamed it up. Created a place called the Garden of Eden, and created man, then created woman to live amongst all the other animals. Now, religious wackos actually believe that there was just two people in the middle of creation, and think that there was somewhere called the Garden of Eden. They take it literally to the word that God created two human beings and that was it. Which doesn't really make sense to the reality of the situation, where you have different ecosystems all over the world that support a whole variety of life, but are very similar to each other in those different ecosystems. So like I've pointed out, you get foxes all over the world, you get mouse all over the world, you get different birds that are very similar and part of the same families all over the world. But in the different climates, they have different features slightly. Only slightly, not a lot, but you can tell that they're related as such, but with different features regarding light, regarding temperature, regarding a lot of things. So if the temperatures sing, the fur will be thinner, whereas in colder countries, it's thicker fur and things, it's sensible things. Again, people's skin. So, hot countries, the skin will burn more, so it needs to be darker, which is melanin, which protects the skin from the country. And I've tried to point out that as you go around the world, it does sort of follow suit to the heat of certain countries. So they're facts that can't be argued. But you have a million different stories that's been told to the world's population via the media since the introduction of the education system and the TV network and the media outlets. So before, when it first started, it was just religious schooling, just religion. That's why the churches are everywhere. That can't be argued. If you go to Muslim countries, the mosques are everywhere. There are no Jewish countries, bar the majority of a place called Israel, but that was only created after the two world wars. There are many stories, but again stories. in books, just books, telling you about battles of Temple Mount, how it was Jewish, then it was Islam, then it was Jewish, and there's all these battles going on regarding that. Now, unreligious people tell you that every war on earth is caused by religion, which has been the majority of what took place in the past up to the world wars. And then you have the stories of the world wars, that don't really make sense, and they call that the Great War. I just want to point this out. I might as well waffle a little bit. Trench there, trench there. It was illegal not to fight in both those countries. You're on a battlefield in the middle of a field. So at that time, no one had motorised transport. No one left the village. No one really travelled. It was horse and cart. Trench there, trench there. So this was allegedly happened millions of miles away. If you didn't fight in the First World War, this is what I was educated. So I'm just using what I was educated, whether things happened or not. So again, you have to ask yourself the questions. What you were educated, whether things happened, and have a look at what they're telling you that took place and how they've tried to sell it to you. Now, trench there, trench there. If you didn't fight for either side, both the own sides executed you as punishment for not fighting. You were put in prison, tied to a cannon. This is what I was educated at school. Or you faced firing squad. Yeah? Now that took place. That was law. That's what allegedly happened. Now in all the villages when you go around the villages, outside the churches or in a lot of the villages, you'll have like a fucking, what they call an obelisk or whatever the fuck, how you pronounce that, obelisk. I don't know how you pronounce it, because I see words on pages, so it's very hard sometimes. Obelisk or something like that. But basically a piece of stone that's been carved with loads of people's names in it, of those that died in the First World War, which they call the Great War. It was called a Great War. But anyway, they get up, walk across the field while the other side shot them dead. Again, the media, the films that you've watched and what you were told is that those soldiers were played, they had speakers in the trenches playing reports of the other side being bombed by the balloons and all this shit, and that they were winning, and they needed to go over the wall, they called it. You need to go over the wall. Once you went over, and what they did was keep the people in such disgusting conditions, suffering frostbite, hunger, that they'd had going over the wall weren't that fucking, but ultimately I can't cope with this that much longer, I might as well go over the wall. Hundreds and thousands of people died from both sides on those battlefields, with meters of ground not even gained, and they called that a Great War. Now, if you reason with what you've been told, that's an execution. Both sides agreed to that form of combat. So they're mates, and they draw up rules for the fights. The two leaders drew up rules of how you were meant to fight warfare. Now, combat doesn't work like that. It's basically, there is no rules to combat. There can be no rules to combat when it comes down to your life and death. It is simply, there are no rules in a death match. Now, like I've pointed out, certainly with all the animals that I can see with my own eyes, that most species don't engage in death battle. They're one species and they all stick together and work together. Now, yes, when two dog walkers are walking two prisoner dogs, they start to fight each other because they're wackos, because they are out of an unnatural environment. But for some reason, the human race fights each other and kills each other, and the storybooks tell you that it was all to do with religion up to those wars. Then you have the story of Hitler, who went round murdering Jews. Now, Hitler wasn't even German, he was Austrian, which is the story, and then he was banged up in prison where he wrote the book Mein Kampf. Now, that was then marketed to the world's population, which is about the master race, which was white people with blonde hair and blue eyes. Well, Hitler never had either of those things. So that's a pretty weird story anyway. Now, so most of the stories, get back to religion. Well, Mein Kampf was then used in the racist things, and again, the symbol, the swastika was used as the symbol of hate, racism, which was then adopted by skinheads and adopted by racist parties around the world in this race thing that gets highly publicised in the media. It's highly publicised and given a bad view of. Yet in the media, you have things like the Black Panther, which is more or less celebrated. So I just want to point that out quickly. Now, what you have are religious books that border on comic book, like superhero shit. The Norse religions are, well, whether they're all Viking or whatever, you've got heroes and superpowers and weapons and all this shit. The Indian stories in the Vedic texts are very similar. Battles and all this shit going on, wars between gods, wars between evil demons, good demon spirits. It's bordering on little kid stories. Vast amounts of the world, again, in the Old Testament tells you that you will be taken over by the kingdoms of God, and you will become the worshippers of wood and stone. Now, all religions on earth, bar Judaism and Islam, because they are nearly identical in the quest to overtake the world and world domination regarding total slavery and obedience towards God. They are nearly identical in that. They are more or less identical religions. They both wear the skull cap. But yes, you get the Orthodox Jews, what you see that are in towns in England and with the big long sideburns and that. But the skull cap is there. And Christians were made to shave that part of the head as well. Monks and all of that. And you were made to go into a monastery. Women were forced to be nuns, males were forced to be monks. Now, bar those two religions, all have statues of stone. You will become the worshippers of wood and stone. That's what it says. And that is the reality around the world for the majority of the world, bar Judaism and Islam, who both, their religion is to overtake the world and have total obedience towards God. Both talk of rape and murder and slavery. Buddhism is about peace and not doing wrong to anybody and loving everything. Now, the correct Buddhism is vegetarian, but vast amounts of people that practice Buddhism aren't vegetarians. So they don't do what the books tell them as well, or what Buddha did, or things like that. And the story is that Buddhism started in India, and that Buddha, according to some versions, was incarnation of Vishnu and all this. Now, what's written in the books I couldn't really give a fuck about. The books don't really have relevance on my life, but there may be a story in there about what took place on Earth to get it to where it is, and what this creation is. Now, like I've already said, what I do know is that this Earth is a training ground, and that there may be another world to this world. My take on it is that it's definitely not another cloudy wonder world where you just receive love. It's more or less another disgusting shithole that needs to be sorted out. If you read the Bible, it tells you that there was a war in heaven between two lots of angels. So there was a war that took place. Yet the followers of the religion of Abraham then think that when you go to heaven, both Islam and Christianity, I'm not 100% sure on the Judaism version, actually, to be honest with you, of what their take on the after, what they call the afterlife is. But those two versions have paradise and heaven. Buddhism has nirvana or Nevada. Again, I can't really remember what was written in the book, what I wrote. Again, the word, how I pronounce that word is irrelevant to the story. Again, you've got cartoon pictures, but it does tell you in nearly all the books, it states, for those that understand what is written. Now, like I've pointed out, the very beginning bit of the Bible is that human beings were designed to live in nature amongst all the other animals. The reality is now, on Earth, in your reality, your lifetime, is that human beings don't do that. They live in what they call societies where you have to pay the owners to live on the land, and everything is governed by currency. Now, nearly every fucking country, well, every country on Earth follows that format. Every country has currency. Every country has education. Every country has banking systems. Every single country on Earth has more or less exactly. Police forces, armies, they follow suit. Passports, documentation, they all have these things, as far as I'm aware. Again, what really goes on around the world ain't really my fucking concern right now. Couldn't really give a fuck about it. My reality is the land where my feet touch. Now, yeah, so there's a billion different versions of what there is. But in reality, in your lifetime, is how that fits into your world now. What do they mean? That was my question. That was why I looked into everything. Reading was just another escape, a form of escapism from the asylum, to occupy my free time with shit. Basically, it's shit. But it does hold value to my existence. But it's not life. It's not creation. It's the asylum. And my reality. And my life. My reality is that I was educated, that I was a monkey, there was a giant explosion, and that science is the new law. That you have to pay, your role in life is that you need to get a job and try to earn as much money as you can and try to obtain yourself a home. That's my reality. That's nearly everyone's reality, unless you're born into a reality where your family has money and you don't have to worry about doing those things. But most people with a lot of money still make their kids do that. Because that's what you've been educated and programmed to do. Now, most Christians that I come across don't wish harm on a lot of people. They don't wish harm on anyone. I don't know that many Muslims, but I do have conversations with some. I've had conversations with some, and experience. They're quite friendly people to a degree, but charmingness again, I don't know. I don't think that the majority would want to kill everyone, rape everyone, and do all these things. Well, I hope not, but I don't know. Because I'm not in their communities and I can only listen to their words. So I don't know. Ultimately. But I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. Because that's not the reality of the situation. I don't think. I get taxis, so that's taxis is my main conversations with Muslims, and most taxi drivers are quite nice people. They're just trying to earn a bit of money, raise a family, and be a good person. So I don't think that that's the case. But the leaders of the world always go to war. But again, what the reality is that in the media and events that take place in the world is that Great Britain goes around the world, or the world police with America and the United Nations, and they've invaded Muslim countries. But again, they have also helped Muslims in Bosnia, they went in and they allegedly bombed places in Libya. There was this thing called the Arab Spring. So there was But they're all in business together. They are all in business together, and all the royal families all stay at each other's houses. Let me just get a bit, because I'm talking a bit. Sorry, but you know, I might be waffling for a little while, and once I've had a drink, I like another one. But yeah, the stories themselves in those books are gunk to a degree, bordering on fairy tale. When part of the books tell you something different about this war that took place, and that evil came to Earth. Now, what a lot of Muslims believe is that Satan is in control of the Western world. It's Satan, and that their role is to defeat Satan in the holy wars, and they've been conditioned on a holy war. So that is fact. That's written in their books. The rape, the murder, the beating of women, raping of children is written in their books, so it can't really be argued. It's not up, how do you interpret that? The word in the Bible is that your wife will be taken and raped, and someone else will take your wife and rape them. Now, so how is that God good when it uses those phrases? And like I've pointed out before, how comes this God that created the earth, allegedly, suffers a vanity complex and needs to be told how great they are? But that doesn't fit into nature. That doesn't fit into the reality of all life, because it's very intelligent. Now, I know how intelligent this world is, but the reality is that I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure that this world, this reality that you live in, was created by the creator of all life. I'm not 100% certain of that. So I want to get that. Now, I don't understand it. I don't understand what all of nature and creation actually means. I don't understand it. So I do try to learn about it as much as I can. Again, names of things. Are they important? I don't know. I don't think so. Ultimately, I don't need to know the names of the birds. I just know they're there. I know they hunt insects, worms. Worms are insects, They're hunters. A bird is a hunter. It's a predator. It eats lots of life forms. There is life and death everywhere. So, I'm not sure that all life form, and again, the complexities of a human body. Now, according to that, it was just dreamed up. Just dreamed up. Everything's just dreamed up. There was nothing, and then there was everything. Just dreamed up by God. And then when you say, well, look, the earth is what provides everything. Oh, well, who created the earth then? Well, I don't know. Who created God then? See, it can go very big. Is it your job to know all this, everything there is to know? I need a piss now. Everything there is to know about life. I don't know whether that's the reality or not. Sorry about that, but the phrase is, when nature calls. You know, you put liquid in, liquid comes out, but it comes out completely different to what it went in. Same way as food does, exactly the same thing. You know, so your body processes it and turns it into something else. That's a machine. With loads of different components that make a machine work. Parts and components. That's what a human body is. Although it's organic, you can't get out of the fact that it's a machine. Now, when I said to that wacko yesterday in Bedford, I says, "You're a machine." I don't believe that until I explained it to him. But then he doesn't give me any answers. He doesn't want to talk about it. He just sort of just blanks you. Which is a common occurrence with religious wackos, because they only want to talk about the book, they only want to talk about God and heaven. When you ask them about the world, they just say there's evil everywhere and try to claim that it's this test. And then when you push them even further, then it says God's going to come and rid the world of evil. Is he? According to the history books, that's not taken place. There's been death, destruction, murder all over the place regarding people's interpretations of the books and the differences in the thing. The storybooks tell you there was the Ottoman Empire, which was Turkey, that converted vast amounts of the world to Islam, and there was this war between Islam and Christianity. But what you get are countries next to each other all around the place, more like for division. So they've segregated the land off. So it's not the earth as one thing. It's not the earth as one functioning thing. It's loads of segregated areas with different governments, different things. You're that, you're that, you're that, you're against them. And they do it with sports, religions, because you get one country's Muslim, one country's Christian. And they blame, it's like weird, like the media doesn't seem to mention Islamic slavery, the slave trade. It doesn't mention black slave trade. It only talks about white slave trade. It tells you that Hitler was evil and hated everyone, but yet he had allies that fought for him, what they called the fascists. Again, fascism and these isms and all of that, because it's a game. It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit for the fucking people to hate everyone else and think that their own little segregated area is what they are, where they're from, and they hate everyone else. Nationalism, patriotism, which are the tools of the monarchy along with religion, but basically they divide every fucking community on earth with those divisions. So that is the reality of the situation. So how can, if God was this almighty powerful being like is explained in the Old Testament, why is it left up for discussion? It shouldn't be. God has revealed himself. Where then? I've never seen God. Now, in life, I never believed in God. Never believed in God. But I always believed in the devil. Because all I've seen around me my whole life is evil. It's evil. Rape, murder, starvation, prostitution, drugs, violence, hate. That's all I've ever witnessed from birth till now. And that I have to do as I'm told, go to work, give my money away to obtain very simple things in life, and to put a roof over the head and raise a child, which I barely saw. A couple of hours a day, a couple of hours a week, some weeks. That's it. It wasn't I didn't raise him. I barely saw him. I tried to do what you can do in those moments of time, to occupy them, to give them what you wanted as a child normally, so that they had it and they weren't excluded, you know what I mean? But that's the reality. That's the situation. While out of the asylum, out of the concrete jungle, in nature, especially where it's left, it don't work like that. The parents of the offspring bring the children up, or the whole herd brings the children up. Or the children are just born with all the information that they need to know to be that, whatever it is. Vast amounts of species are born able to do everything what the adult animal does. A human being don't operate like that. Other animals don't operate like that. Like I've pointed out, kangaroos don't operate like that. It takes, and I think elephants and things like that take a long time, but they're able to walk, I think, straight away. Or after a few hours. Again, what happens, I don't know. But a human being, baby, is dependent on adults for a long time. Certainly in this world, anyway. So, yeah. There are connections between the stories, and they do follow suit, because they are all about control of the population. Christianity is forgive those that trespass against you. It's a weird saying, isn't it? Forgive those that trespass against you. Forgive everybody. It's about forgiveness. Let's forgive everybody. Love everybody. When that's not what comes in return. And like I said, the church are responsible, and nearly everyone knows the crimes of the church, but they just make something else up. When Christianity, the sayings of Christianity are, the truth will set you free. While they turn a blind eye to the truth and just start talking about the book and Jesus Christ. It also states that there will be many false prophets before the second coming. And that the second coming will have a different name. Jimmy fucking Snooker. But no. So it does tell you that. that there will be many false prophets before the second coming, Jesus Christ included. What did he do? What did Jesus do? Bar kill himself. Oh, I died for the sins of man. But again, dying for the sins of man. The story is that he tried to free slaves. But the slaves wouldn't listen. Didn't matter what he did. Walk on water. Give them food. Give them drink. He got everyone drunk and gave them a little bit of munch. But the slaves didn't care about that. Didn't care about it. Didn't rise up. Didn't free themselves. Did fuck all. And the wackos then think that if you say you love Jesus, you go to heaven, which is a magical, cloudy wonder world. But that's not what the fucking Old Testament or the fucking... It tells you in the New Testament, which is Revelation, that the Christ is the leader of the army of the dead, and that he will rid the world of the delusions that it is suffering. He will come in a time of delusions. The Buddha comes in a time of delusion. Vishnu comes in a time of delusion, where the world is suffering delusions of epidemic proportions. Now, I've already started to point out the delusions. The delusions are the media contamination that has been put onto the population. But religious wackos only want to talk about the past. They don't talk about the present. Really? They tell you about Jesus. They tell you about getting to fucking cloudy wonder worlds. One's just about saying how great you are, not doing anything in life, and they're happy to be called slave. They're happy for that name. They call themselves slave of Allah. And they're happy about it. And all they care about is money, begging, and going to paradise. Now, what I'm trying to point out is it doesn't matter how much you reason. It doesn't matter whether they are harmful to you personally. But it's that belief system, that wackoness, and that doing as you were told by the authorities. And they all would scream for other people to be attacked for going against their belief, their slavery, their things. So they're dangerous. Christians are as dangerous as those that believe that they should overtake the world, rape everyone, and thing, because their idleness, their laziness, their incapability of accepting the truth of their reality and their existence. The truth will set you free, yet again, it's in that book. What does the book say? It's that page. What does that page say? And you say, that page says, oh, you've taken it. I haven't. It's very clear that the sons of Israel will be rewarded for overtaking the world and punishing the rest. For those that don't follow the word of the laws of the book. And it's not just the 10 Commandments. There are a lot of other doctrines and laws that were put on by the church and the leaders of those religions, who built all the buildings and wrote all the books. It weren't the people's choice to do that. The people had no choice. They were forced into it and murdered for not believing. That's the history. It tells you that Muhammad was the leader of armies that went around killing everyone and doing shit and taking over people and conquering. Then you have the Ottoman Empire that did it later. It also tells you that the devil will hide in plain sight. Because with the media, you can tell someone a story and manipulate the same story and make it out, convince the wackos and tell them that that is good, when it's very evil. Now, according to the media, America and Great Britain and stuff go around bombing schools. And they claim, oh, it's because the terrorists were putting bombs in there. Is it? Why would the terrorists hide bombs in schools and hospitals when there's other places where you could hide bombs? So are the followers of that faith massacring their own people by ensuring that foreign invaders bomb those places to get them things, so that the media can then paint a bad picture? Because the media can paint the picture on both sides, so it tells them that that was that, while the others hate that for doing that. Divide and rule. If you don't understand divide and rule, then you don't understand life. The answers to life are not in the books. The religious books can't tell you shit. The religious books tell you nothing about life. There may be a story to how life got to where it is, if you want to read the story. Now, in the Old Testament, it states very clearly in the curses of God. Let me read you the curses of God, actually. While I'm here, let me just read you and give you my take on the curses of God. Now, the blessings of God are more or less exactly the same as the curses of God, but they're the ones that are going to put that onto everyone else, and they'll be blessed for it, for following the word of God, there is, like I said, the Bible is only part of the doctrine. There is many fucking doctrine outside of the holy books that vast amounts look at. The actual main religious books are very small amounts of the doctrine that are just given to the wackos that barely even read that doctrine. Like that bloke yesterday didn't have a clue what was written in Deuteronomy. Was looking for a way out of what I was saying to try to justify his bullshit, not only to me but to himself, because he's a liar to himself. Another bloke, David from the YMCA, and exactly the fucking same. It's identical, because the program is exactly the same of the wackos. I'm trying to tell him about this, and the arrogance and the manners is revolting, although he had polite words. His actual manners were disgusting. I gave him a gift. I painted a picture. I said, I'd like you to have this gift. He left it on the floor. He's a scumbag. Piece of shit with no fucking manners. The second it didn't go his way, he started ignoring me. He'd just shut the fucking shutters on you when you're having a discussion. The second it don't go his way, he wants to tell you everything out of his mouth, but not listen. And even discuss. Because he can't discuss, because they know it's wrong and bullshit. But the delusions of a wacko are like that. He turned round to me and said, I said, there's loads of stuff in the Bible that's disgusting. He said, ooh, 1 drop of poison in a glass of water makes the whole glass of water poison. I said, all right. So I started to read him the curses of God, and he interrupted me and cut the conversation after I got a few lines in with piss poor manners, because he's not even true to his own fucking word. Claims to be a Christian while working in the YMCA, lauding himself up. I work for a Christian charity. The YMCA is registered as a Christian charity that is in receipt of masses and masses and masses of money that they then give to landlords themselves in a different name. And the owners of the YMCA go up to Prince Charles. Now, again, the information available is about Everything in life is about making sense of all the information that is around your own ears. And what makes sense? Now, what doesn't make sense is that the creator of all of this expects you, a human being, to beg and tell them how great they are so that you can go and experience their love. Mental patient love. What's love? What religious people call love is putting religion onto their children and making them obedient. Normally through violence. A lot do it through violence. If you think back to how you have to train a child, you go to war with them. You have to go to war with them and continue to lock them in rooms, continue to punish them until they behave. Punishment and reward. Like a mutt. Anyway. Yeah. So he lords himself up as, anyway, that David lauded himself up as a Christian, and his arrogance was repulsive. His charity towards other human beings was non-existent. You'd get people genuinely in need coming up to him because he was a receptionist, but now he's the housing manager because he's an arse-licking little fucking cunt, obedient little mutt that does what his bosses tell him. And basically, you would have people genuinely in need, suffering, like they're not very clever people. They're unable to fucking wash, dress themselves. They're mentally ill. A lot of them were childlike. Some people were very childlike, like, you know, behind and would struggle to cope with basic tasks in life. And when they went to ask him questions, all he would do is say, put it in writing. You know, they're struggling to put their fucking pants on correctly. I'm not sure they're able to write their complaints about the YMCA and hand it to you so that you're going to do anything about it. That's not charity. Because there's no staff to help. Some days you'd have one or two people in the whole building of 78 people that they claim as a charity. They're in receipt of £1.6 million a year. Now, they house alcoholics, drug addicts. That's what homeless people would be. Now, the reason why homeless people are homeless and things like that is because they were addicted to drink and alcohol, which means that they occupy their time with drink and alcohol. Yet, the YMCA didn't fit any TV points. No internet, no nothing in any of the rooms. They're in receipt of £1.6 million a year, but they didn't. You had no access to any form of entertainment. Bar down in a communal area that was shut at about 8 o'clock at night. So what the boredom says, how is that going to help junkies and fucking alcoholics in life if they can't occupy their time and they've got no way of occupying their time? You have to beg for fucking tokens to even wash your fucking clothes. They limit how many times you're allowed to use a washing machine. Then they fitted internet in and charged everyone in the building money for the internet, which was inflated. So they made money on giving people internet. Charging the people that they claim to be helping as a charity. Anyway. Let me just read these out loud, which Mr. fucking I'm super religious, the book is the word of God, refused outright to read out correctly. Now these are watered down. And there are a few different versions of this, because there's many different versions of the Bible, because they water down the viciousness of the Bible every time they fucking bring out a new version of it. I'm not 100% sure which way it is, the difference between Sunni and Shia. But Catholics are much more extreme than Protestants. And in their brutality, in their doctrine, and the way they, the Catholic Church was horrendous, the way it brought children and looked after children in what they called homes and things like this, and their nunneries. I think Shia are the extremists, and Sunni is a lesser version, but again, either or, it don't matter. See, every time I come onto this, yeah, here we go. So it's 28:50. 28:15 it starts. So what you get are the curses of God. Now, according to that bloke yesterday, the Bible is just written for Jewish people. So why does the whole world believe it? And you can only be a Jew if you were born to a Jewish mother. You can't convert to Judaism. You are unable to convert to Judaism. You are only allowed to be a Jew if you are born to a Jewish mother. You can only be a Jew if you're born to a Jewish mother. You can't convert to Judaism. You can't be a Jew unless you were born to a Jewish mother. Yet they are tiny in comparison to the world's population. And that's even according to the books and according to everything else. But anyway, Christians believe in and Muslims both believe in the creation story of the Jew, and that the Jew was the chosen person, Moses, Mount Zion, and all these. Is it Mount Zion? I can't remember I think it's Mount Zion. It might not be Mount Zion. What's the fucking Mount where Moses went up and spoke to God and all that shit? And then God said that he was going to kill everyone, all of Moses' people, for fucking worshipping a calf, until Moses reasoned with God. Because God don't understand human beings, apparently, according to the Bible, what is written. Because it's weird, it's full of contradiction, it's a weird story if you actually look at the story. But the wackos don't read the fucking stories that are in there. Just say that if you believe in Jesus, you're going to go to heaven. Say you love Jesus and that is it. Because they don't. God is love. This is the word of God, while waving the fucking book around without actually fucking knowing what's in the fucking book. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses that will come on you and overtake you. You will be cursed in the city, cursed in the country. You will be cursed in the kneading trough. Your basket and your kneading trough will be cursed. The fruit of your womb will be cursed. And the crops of your land and the calves of your herds and the lambs of your flocks. Does that mean eating? Does that mean being born disabled? The fruit of your womb will be cursed? How many babies are born disabled? You will be cursed when you come in and cursed when you go out. Born to slavery, made to pay when you die. The Lord will send on you curses, confusion and rebuke in everything you put your hand to, until you are destroyed and come to sudden ruin because of the evil you have done in forsaking him. Not saying how great he is, and following his commandments, while the people that do that was burning everyone and killing everyone themselves. Only for the slaves aren't allowed to murder and do all that. The Lord will plague you with diseases until he has destroyed you from the land you are entering to possess. The Lord will strike you with wasting disease, with fever and inflammation, with scorching heat, drought, with blight and mildew, which will plague you until you perish. There are a lot of diseases on Earth now, since the vaccination programs. And the manipulation of the gene pool. The sky over your head will be bronze, the ground beneath you iron. Airplanes, they spray the air every now and then and it looks bronze. When you look at the sky some days, there's lines all across the sky. The internet calls them chemtrails. What they are, I don't know. But that does take place and the sky looks bronze. Pesticides ionize the ground. If you continue, that's why they change what they grow on the fields, because it ionizes the ground. The Lord will turn the rain of your country into dust and powder, and it will come down from the skies until you are destroyed. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You will come at them from one direction, but free from them in 7. 7 is a very important number, because the Christ dishes out 7 of everything. And you will become a thing of horror to all the kingdoms on earth. To the kingdoms. Your carcasses will be food for all the birds and the wild animals, and there will be no one to frighten them away. The Lord will inflict you with the boils of Egypt and with tumours. Cancers. Man-made cancers. All of this is man-made. Festering sores. The itch you cannot be cured. Sexually transmitted diseases. Some of them are permanent, like herpes, like syphilis. People suffer eczema, itching. The itch that can't be thin. The Lord will inflict you with madness, blindness, and confusion of the mind. Well, the internet, the TV, the media has bombarded everyone with billions of different versions of everything, which causes blindness and confusion. Weird. At midday you will grope about like a blind person in the dark. You will be unsuccessful in everything you do. Doesn't matter how hard you work, you never seem to get anywhere. You will be oppressed and robbed, tax, with no one to rescue you. You will be pledged to be married to a woman, but another will take her and rape her. That bloke read that for quite a long time yesterday. Now, I've been speaking about that, but that is only a few things, and he would have got to that, I reckon. You will build a house, but you will not live in it. Fuck me, I've spent my whole life doing that. Building houses for other people. You will plant a vineyard, but you will not begin to enjoy its fruit. That's called slavery. That's where people work on farms but don't get to enjoy the produce and things that they grow. Your ox will be slaughtered before your eyes, but you will eat none of it. Your donkey will be forcibly taken from you and will not be returned. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and no one will rescue them. Farmers. They've taken control of all the livestock of the whole land. Because they're cunts. Your sons and daughters will be given to another nation, and you will wear out your eyes watching for them day after day, powerless to lift a hand. Immigration. where your kids fuck off and leave you. A people you do not know will eat what your land and labour produce, and you will have nothing but cruel oppression. That's what happens around the world. That country grows that, but sells it to that, while they are oppressed and don't get to eat what they grow. They have to pay for what they grow, if they're lucky to get it, because it's normally shipped around the world. All done by the kingdoms of God. All your days, you will have nothing but cruel oppression all your days. The sights you see will drive you mad. Everyone is now suffering mental illness. Because all you do is see murder, rape, filth and shit in the world, and it drives people mad. The Lord will inflict your knees with painful boils that cannot be cured, spreading from the soles of your feet to the tops of your head. Some of these may not have taken place yet, who knows? Or took place in the past, who knows? The Lord will drive you and the king you set over you to a nation unknown to you and your ancestors. The monarchy aren't English. You will worship other gods of wood and stone. I've already pointed that out. Nearly every religion on earth, apart from Judaism and Islam, worship stone or wooden statues. You will become a thing of horror, a byword, an object of ridicule among all the people where the Lord will drive you. You will sow much seed in the field, but you will harvest little, because locusts will devour it. You will plant vineyards and cultivate them, but you will not drink the wine or gather the grapes, because worms will eat them. You will have olive trees throughout your country, but you will not use the oil, because the olives will drop off. You will have sons and daughters, but you will not keep them, because they will go into captivity. Swarms of locusts will take over all your trees and crops of your land. Again, they are releasing all manner of shit into the fucking wild, and they may have done that in the past. The foreigners, now that word has aliens in some Bibles, in some versions, who reside among you. See, this is weird, because you shouldn't have foreigners involved. The only reason is for now, because you didn't have foreigners residing among you before. Now you have foreigners residing everywhere. The foreigners who reside among you will rise above you higher and higher, but you will sink lower and lower. They own everything. You have fuck all. They will lend to you, but you will not lend to them. The banks. They will be the head of states, and you will be the tail. All these curses will come on you. They will pursue you and overtake you, until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the Lord your God and observe the commands and decrees he gave to you. They will be a sign and a wonder to you and your descendants forever, because you did not serve your God joyfully and gladly in the time of prosperity. Therefore in hunger and thirst, in nakedness and dire poverty, you will serve the enemies the Lord sends against you. He will put an iron yoke on your neck, the chains of slavery, until he has destroyed you. The Lord will bring a nation against you from far away, from the ends of the earth, like an eagle swooping down, a nation whose language you do not understand. Wow. I only understand English, yet this country is full of people that don't speak English. A fierce-looking nation without respect for the old or pity for the young. The Quran tells them to kill the old and young. They will devour the young of your livestock and the crops of your land until you are destroyed. They love lamb. They will not leave you no grain, new wine or olive oil, nor any calves of your herds or lambs of your flocks until you are ruined. They will lay siege to all the cities throughout your land until the high fortified walls in which you trust fall down. They will besiege all the cities throughout the land the Lord your God is giving. Because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege, you will eat the fruit of the womb, the flesh of the sons and daughters the Lord has given you. Even the most gentle and sensitive man among you will have no compassion for his brother or wife he loves or his surviving children, and he will not give to one of them any of the flesh of his children that he is eating. Sounds like fucking zombies to me. It will be all he has left because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege of all your cities. We're under siege now. Who's in control? The most gentle and sensitive woman among you, so sensitive and gentle that she would not venture to touch the ground with the sole of her feet, will begrudge the husband she loves and her own sons or daughter. The afterbirth from her womb and the children she bears, for in her dire need she intends to eat them secretly because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege of your cities. If you do not carefully follow all the words of this law, which is written in this book, and do not revere this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, the Lord will send fearful plagues on you and your descendants, harsh, prolonged disasters and severe, lingering illnesses. Cancers and fucking... Oh, there's millions of illnesses. He will bring on you all the diseases of Egypt that you dreaded, and they will cling to you. The Lord will also bring you every kind of sickness and disaster not recorded in the book of the law until you are destroyed. Natural disasters, all manner of disasters. Terrorism is a disaster. You who are as numerous as the stars in the sky will be left but a few in number, because you did not obey the Lord your God, just as it pleased the Lord to make you prosper and increase in number. So it will please him to ruin and destroy you. So they said that he increased your numbers. Natural unbirthing. You will be uprooted from the land you are entering to possess. Immigration. Then the Lord will scatter you among all nations. Immigration. From one end of the earth to the other. Immigration. There you will worship other gods, gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your ancestors have known. See, it always repeats itself. It's weird. Among those nations you will find no response, no resting place, your soul for the sole of your foot, constant slavery. There the Lord will give you an anxious mind, eyes weary with longing and despairing heart. People always want more. They want love. They want belongings. They want to be liked. You will live in constant suspense, filled with dread, both night and day, never sure of your life. Terrorism, viruses, global warming, the greenhouse effect, aliens, fucking every fucking thing. You're going to die of everything. You will live in constant suspense, filled with dread, both night. In the morning you will say, if only it was evening. And in the evening, if only it were morning, because of the terror that will fill your hearts and the sights that your eyes will see. When you're at home, you want to go to work because you're fucking fucked. And then when you're at work, you just want to get fucked. The Lord will send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. That's your reality. That's the reality of the fucking world. The curses of God, which were inflicted on the population by the fucking kingdoms of God. That's what that slimy little fuck didn't want to read out. That's what that other cunt in the YMCA refused to listen to because of his piss poor religious fucking manners. Both were immigrants, both black. Now the geezer in the YMCA was African. Well, he wasn't, he was French, but from African origin. Claimed to be tribal. Yet what the mental illness of vast amounts of fucking black people do is blame white people for the conversion to Christianity, while claiming that Christianity is God's word. But it was evil white people that forced it on them because of the delusions they suffer. And proclaim that now it's God's fucking word. That's disgusting. That's filth. And that the sons of Israel, for doing all of that, will be blessed. And they are the ones who came in 7 directions. If you read the blessings of the Jew, where you can only be Jewish if you were born to a Jewish mother. And what it does state is that the Jew is made up of multinationals, people from all over the world. The Jew has no skin tone. Anyway, that's the word of God. That's your reality. Because the churches put that onto everyone, and the monarchy have put that onto everyone. The kingdoms of God. This is God's world. The asylum is God's creation. And mental patients don't even bother reading the books. Claim that God is love. Fuck me. That's a horrible sign of love. Why don't God just reveal himself? Instead, it's a man-made book. And and they were man-made things that people read and thought that it was their right to put onto the population of the world. The population of the world didn't even know who God was. Because God only exists in a fucking book. That'll do.